Hey guys, in this video I've got 5 very powerful and awesome tips for you that's going to help you in your live acoustic solo gigs. Now, if you don't play live acoustic solo gigs or play live anywhere, I encourage you to still hang around for this because these tips, they're really going to help you in other areas as well as a musician. Now, what this is going to do, first of all, is going to encourage the venue to keep having you back. It will also encourage audience engagement, which you know what that means, more tip money for you. And hey, that's cash. That comes in quite handy. Now we're going to jump right into these 5 tips, but make sure you hang around till the end of the video. I've got some other cool stuff I'd like to share with you.
Thank you so much, guys. My name is Jason Stallworth. I'm going to be playing some cool 70s and 80s, taking you guys back a few decades. You're all too young to know the songs I'm going to play, by the way, so just letting you know. But hopefully you enjoy them anyway. I will say thank you to coming out to Kill and Curly tonight. We appreciate you being here. You could be anywhere, but you chose here instead, so we really appreciate that, so thank you.
Now, tip number 1 is a little obvious here, okay? The next few tips we get into may not be so obvious, so make sure you hang around for those too, but this is one that's obvious. However, a lot of musicians forget to do this. And no, it's not introducing yourself, though that's important too. It's thanking the audience for being there. And you heard my little line I said at the end there. I told them, I was like, hey, you guys could have gone anywhere tonight, but you chose here instead, and we appreciate that. Notice I said we, not I. And I'll give you a little tip here on top of a tip. This is like tip 1.5. Tip 1 is to thank the audience. Thank them for coming there, okay? Even if they didn't come to see you, because they probably didn't. They came there to eat, drink, and have a good time. We'll talk more on that later too. But I said we appreciate you being here. That means we as in a partnership with you and the venue that you're playing at, okay? It's not just you, okay? You're not just showing up there to play music. You are forming a relationship and a partnership, and that's how I think of these things. And I think that goes a long way, one, with the venue, the owners of the venue, the people that are there. It's like, hey, you know, we're kind of including every one of us in this community, right? It's not just me, it's not just I, it's we. And it also makes the audience feel more at home because they feel that family, that community type vibe when you say we instead of just I. So don't forget to thank the audience. And real quick before we move on to tip number 2, my little intro here, I usually don't start out with an introduction or thanking the audience. I usually start out with a song. In this case, I started out with Bryan Adams' Summer of '69. Everyone knows that song, so you know they enjoyed that, of course. Then I will introduce myself because you've got their attention after you do a song, right? If you just get up there on stage and like, hey, I'm so and so, blah blah blah, nobody really cares so much. Play that song, get their attention, grab them, then introduce yourself, and yes, thank the audience for being there.
This next song I'll play for you, you guys might remember it, probably not. It's from a movie from like 82, 83, something like that. And I'll give you a hint, it was about BMX freestyle, that sort of thing. So maybe you remember it. If not, hope you dig the tune. So did anybody guess the movie that was from? He's got it. Yes, Rad. He's got, so it was I don't remember, I think 86 actually. The movie's called Rad.
Tip number 2 is engaging with the audience. This is really, really important. Now, it's also kind of difficult because remember, a lot of times these folks aren't showing up just to hear you. Now, you may have some fans and friends and family that show up, and I actually get a lot of folks showing up from my YouTube channel and from Facebook and other social platforms. So thank you guys, by the way. Those of you who watch my channel and follow me and show up to my local gigs, I really appreciate that. You don't know how much I appreciate that, so thank you. But most people aren't there to hear you specifically, okay? They're there to eat, drink, and be merry and just have a good time, hang out with their friends or family or whatever. They're there to enjoy themselves. Oftentimes, us acoustic solo acts, we're kind of seen as just background music. That's okay for the most part, but if you can sneak in some engagement here and there, it's just going to liven up the crowd, and it's going to help your tip jar out a little bit too. So you heard what I did. I threw in a little movie trivia, and of course you guys know I play like mostly 80s music. I stick to my comfortable era of music that I love, and I throw in some 70s, but I'll often do like a movie trivia song, and there's tons of soundtrack songs out there that you can learn and do. So in this case, I chose one that's kind of obscure. That was Send Me an Angel by the group Real Life, and it was in the movie Rad, the BMX movie. Some of you may remember that, some of you may have not even been born yet, but anyway, that was a real cool trivia song. This promotes engagement, and it keeps the audience interested, and it just keeps your time on stage a bit more interesting as opposed to just sitting up there playing songs. And it doesn't have to be movie trivia, it could be anything. It could be like the song off a certain album or from a certain era. You can just throw anything out there, or it could be just something simple like, hey, everyone knows this song, so feel free to sing along. I want to hear those beautiful voices out there. I use that quite a bit too.
By the way, guys, if you have not tried Keelan Curry's Sustained IPA, this is good stuff. Really good stuff. I get this every single time, so I want to share that real quick with you. Hope you guys are having an awesome night so far. Again, my name is Jason Stallworth. I'm here till 8 o'clock tonight, so please hang out with me. Thank you so much for coming out, by the way. And we're going to have a good time tonight. Drink some beers, drink some wines. I think my wife is drinking sangria, right? Yep, sangria, that stuff's good too.
Tip number 3 might be the most powerful tip that I give you in this video, but hang around for the other 2 tips because those are important too. Tip number 3, and this is something that I don't think a lot of people think about, and I don't even think like the bar owners or the venue owners and managers and such, they don't really think about it either because no one really asks this question. Ask them if there's any of their products like a beer or wine or maybe a dish. Ask them if there's anything that they would like for you to promote while you're on stage. They might look at you like deer in headlights when you ask that the first time around, but they will appreciate that. This kind of circles back around to tip number 1 in building that relationship. Look, you can be the person that just wants to show up and play music and get paid and go home, or you can be the person that, hey, I'm going to build a partnership here because I want what? I want the longevity, okay, that comes with a partnership. And that's exactly what you're going to get, or at least you're going to increase your chances of building that better. And this is going to take you a lot further than just showing up, playing your music, and going home. So you saw what I did, okay? I took one of their beers. You know, I always get their Sustained. This is at Keelan Curly, by the way, Keelan Curly Winery in Plant City, which again, I'll chat a bit more about this at the end. But I was drinking one of their Sustained IPAs, which I happen to like a lot. So I'm on stage, and by the way, hey guys, if you haven't tried this yet, try it, order one now. This is kind of my go-to beer when I come here, and of course my wife, she was drinking sangria. So, you know, you promote that. And this not only builds that relationship with the venue, because again, they're going to be ecstatic when you do this. When the fact that you asked to do this, like, what do you want me to promote? You know, that establishes that really strong relationship. This also, though, makes the audience feel more welcome, okay? Because now they're included. They're like, hey, he's drinking that, he likes it, you know, or he's eating that, or whatever you need to promote, they're going to want to get some of that too. So it's just a win-win for everyone involved. Tip number 4, this is kind of a tricky one, guys. You want to base the music that you play and the style that you play it in. You want to base that on the venue and, more importantly, the audience that's there. You heard the little clips earlier I showed just now. So the first clip I showed you, I was playing electric guitar. I had like a little rhythm, kind of a hard rock rhythm loop there, and I was playing some hard rock guitar. That was actually at the Forge Irish Pub. That gig was probably earlier this year. I'm filming this in 2022. The second little guitar solo I was playing was a clean guitar solo, okay? And now I'll throw this in from time to time, which we're gonna get into that in tip number 5, and you're gonna love tip number 5, which is why I saved it to the end. But I played different styles for different venues because they had different crowds there, and there's a little bit different expectation at both of those venues. Now, let's back up a second. This does not mean that you have to change your entire style. I am still, for example, Jason Stallworth. You know, they're going to expect a certain style from me and a certain sound, but whether I play a little heavier, so to speak, like I did in the guitar solo, versus playing a little lighter at a winery like Kill and Curly Winery, well, I base that on the venue and the crowd, okay? Now, I may play, and I often play, almost every time I play the same songs, the same style of songs, right? I stick to my 80s and then I do some 70s. I'll sneak a little early 90s in there every now and then, but I may give it a little bit more of an edge and a rasp. My voice is naturally raspy anyway, so I'm kind of stuck with that, but I may give the music a little bit more of an edge if I'm at like a bar, like an Irish pub. But again, at the winery, I might lighten things up a little bit and kind of keep everything a little bit lower. Now, this may go with volume as well, okay? So these are just things you have to assess according to the venue and according to the crowd. You want to please the crowd at the end of the day. You know, us musicians, if you're like me, it's like when I started playing acoustic live, I'm like, well, I'm only going to play a certain style of songs. A lot of acoustic solo artists, well, they'll get out there and they'll just play whatever's popular. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a good trait to have. Me, I like to stick to a certain, I would say a certain era or eras, the 70s and 80s, and I kind of stick to the rock and I do some pop. I'll throw in a little country every now and then as well. But once again, depending on how much of those country songs that I like that I throw in there and how much like Richard Marx and Bryan Adams and Don Henley, the Cutting Crew and that type of stuff, you know, a lot of that's going to be for my wineries, which again, I'll play that at the other places too, but some of the other places that are more of a bar atmosphere, I'm going to throw in maybe some hair bands. Maybe I'll play a little bit of like Poison, Nothing But a Good Time, or maybe I'll do, you know, some Bon Jovi with a little bit more edge, and I'll throw in some instrumental stuff as well that has a little bit more of that edge. So again, it all depends on the venue and the crowd. Just be willing to shift a little bit, okay? And these things can change at the last minute too, by the way, before we get to tip number 5. You know, you can go into a certain place expecting a certain crowd, and it might not be the same type of crowd that night or that day or whenever you're playing there, okay? So again, just be willing to pivot. One of the keys to success in life and business and in music is being willing to adapt and to pivot accordingly, okay? So powerful tip there. Let's move on to the 5th and final tip. You're gonna love this one. Tip number 5. This is a really fun tip, by the way. One word for you: dynamics. Dynamics at your gigs can take you from having a mediocre gig, like, okay, that sounded good, it was okay, and then they forget about it. It can take you from that to some people saying, like, wow, that was pretty cool. That dude or that girl, they did some really cool stuff up there. And here's the thing, you're not going to appeal to everybody out there playing every song that you play. We know that, okay? But if you can sneak in some dynamics, just put some different aspects into your gigs, into your music, it's going to really appeal to some people out there, and that will often promote engagement within the audience. If somebody, like you play a guitar solo, somebody really likes that guitar solo, like, wow, that was cool. Well, the rest of the people around them, they're going to soak in the energy from that person that's excited about what you just did. Now, I'm not going to say you have to do all, what did I give you, 5 or 6 different dynamics there, and I'll run through these real quick. You don't have to do all of those. Some of that might be out of your realm, and some of it might just not be what you want to do. That's okay. But if you can take 2, maybe even 3, have those different aspects into your shows, that's going to help. Okay, so you heard me, I've got some acoustic stuff going on, acoustic with singing, right? What else did I do? I did some acoustic solos. I'm playing with a looper, by the way. I'll loop a rhythm and then solo over it. That's something that I'm going to put some more videos out later, so those are coming up, so hang around. Make sure you're subscribed, by the way, so you'll get the notification when I put that out. Acoustic singing, we've got some acoustic lead guitar. I've got the electric and singing, okay, that adds a little bit different sound, different vibe there. We've got some electric lead with the loop. I've also got my wife that comes up and she'll sing a song or 2 or 2 or 3 songs with me at the end of each set. That really changes the dynamic. And I also sometimes, depending on the venue, again, will throw in some rock guitar style leads, and I'll just do like an instrumental for that. You might do something like, okay, well, you just play acoustic and sing. You might want to get a looper and start playing around with a looper if you haven't done that yet. And this way you can start layering some of your guitar work. And 2 things this does. One is that it breaks the show up a little bit. It's dynamics. It makes it more interesting. Also, though, and this is important for you, it gives your vocals a little bit of a break there. And sometimes we need that, man. These shows are long. And yeah, you already take breaks, but I mean, I play some shows that are 4 hours long. And even taking breaks, it can take a toll on your voice, okay? So having those little instrumentals in there, here and there, can really give you that break. Or if you have a partner or spouse or somebody that maybe will come up, you know, every now and then and do a song or 2 or something like that, you know, those types of things can work. I also like to go see Ben Meyer. He's a local musician. He used to play with Nasty Savage way back in the day, but he plays out all over town here in the Tampa and Brandon area, and he'll just call some random people up on stage sometimes. I actually jammed with him on stage a while back. And I walked into the bar. He's like, "Oh, Jason Stallworth's here." He pulled me up. It's like, "Come on up, dude. Let's jam." So I jammed a couple songs. So anyway, that's a different dynamic that he adds to his shows. So just kind of think outside of the box and think about adding, I would say, at least have 2 different dynamics. Push yourself to have 3, and this is going to break up the shows and just help you get the audience engaged and just keeps things interesting. Now, before I end the video, guys, I told you I had some more stuff to share with you, and I do, but I want to give a shout out to the folks at Kill and Curly Winery. Most of the video that you saw here, that was from a recent performance that I did at Kill and Curly. That place holds a special place in my heart, my wife's heart. We have connected with people there and made friends and brought several friends there, and we've been going to that place for a long time now. And I used to see people play up there here and there, and I'm like, man, you know, that would be a cool place to play. And when I started doing this, well, that was one of the first places that I got into. So I'm very grateful. So thank you, folks, the owners of Kill and Curly, and everybody who works there. And special shout out to Todd Cool with Cool One Management. He's responsible for getting me in the door at this place. And Todd, you've gotten me other gigs too, so thank you. But I really appreciate you guys, really appreciate that. The last thing I wanted to share with you really are just some encouraging words, and hang around for this because this is really important. As musicians, we tend to have a bit deeper emotions. We wear our hearts on our sleeves. That's just the way we're wired. With that, we can oftentimes be overly critical of ourselves. Before I go further, don't use that as an excuse not to practice and not to get really good at your craft. You want to do that, but at the same time, we're often overly critical of our performance, of our voice. Voice is a delicate thing, and we also find ourselves comparing ourselves to other acoustic artists out there. You know, maybe someone else is getting more gigs than we are, or playing at places, and we want to get in there, but we're not even being considered. Or maybe someone just sounds really good and you're like, okay, I'm nowhere near that level, I'm never gonna be there. Don't allow those thoughts to creep in. When those thoughts start coming in, push them away, okay? Take a deep breath, breathe it out, get rid of that junk, that garbage, because you have to understand the most important thing that you can do as an acoustic solo artist, performer, or really any musician, whether you play heavy metal. You guys know this channel is mainly metal guitar, but I like to put this stuff out there for you as well because it's a big part of my life now. But the thing is, you have to focus on your own unique abilities. Okay, we all have something very unique inside of us, and that's what I want you to focus on. Don't worry about this person sounding so great, or this person can sing really high, or that person plays guitar really well. You know, that's all fine and dandy, okay? That's great, be happy for them, but you have your own unique abilities, and that's what you need to focus on. Maybe you can't sing as high. Like, I don't have a super high range, so a lot of my songs, I just transpose them, right? You know, I play, for example, Boston's Peace of Mind. I love that song because it's about quitting your job and you know, going to do something that you love. Like, hey, here we are. But that song, if I were to try to pull that off, oh my God, like he sings it, no way, this is just not happening. I would sound like a howling dog. So I transpose the song to a key that I'm comfortable singing that in. And a lot of you guys probably do that already, but just understand that I want you to put your own unique twist to your music. Don't worry about sounding like someone else or as good as someone else. Sound like you. Focus on that, because no one can do you as good as you can do you. No one can play and sing just like you. Okay, let that come out. No one can do that as good as you. And as long as you're focusing on that, you will push forward, and you're going to develop an audience. You're going to gain fans. People will love it because it's authentic and it's original. So I just wanted to leave you with those encouraging words, and I truly hope this helps you. Guys, leave me any questions or comments that you have in the comments of this video. And don't forget to check the links in the description of this video. If you play metal guitar, I've got some metal guitar courses here. I've also got a free metal guitar practice guide, and I'm thinking of creating something for live musicians that perform these acoustic solo acts. So I've got something in the works, got something brewing for that as well. So subscribe to my channel, please give this a thumbs up, and guys, I'll see you on the next video. My normal sign off is until the next video, keep it metal, but I guess today we are keeping it acoustic, which I'm gonna hang out here for a while and practice some songs because I got a lot of gigs coming up. All right guys, see you on the next video.